On today's show, a Lamborghini for almost nowhere, a rally for everywhere, and humble trucks get expensive. Plus, we're talking to Mike Princinello about MotoGP. I'm Andrew Collins, and this is Hagerty's Daily Driver. If you're into six-figure supercars, but street-legal Lamborghinis are just not hot enough for you, the SCV12 takes it to another level. This is Lamborghini's new track-only hypercar, and it's a screamer. The SCV12 was developed by Lamborghini's Motorsports division and has a carbon fiber chassis and an 830 horsepower V12. That's the most powerful V12 the company has ever made. A new 6-speed gearbox sends all that power to the rear wheels only, so amateurs need not apply. The car's various wings and splitters produce more downforce than a Lamborghini GT3 race car, while air scoops keep things from getting melty. Only a few dozen will be made, so grab your routing number and a pair of earplugs. Moving on, COVID-19 has forced a lot of charity fundraising events to be postponed or canceled, but an organization called Rally Across America is trying to help out. As Hagerty reported, its goal is to arrange driving events in every state to collectively raise $1 million for struggling nonprofits. It works like this. Rally Across America ambassadors, like Lilly Pray, design a route in their area and promote it on social media. Drivers simply sign up and enjoy a day of socially distanced driving. A $100 donation is encouraged. Events are planned in 6 states so far, but Rally Across America is looking for ambassadors everywhere. If you want to help out or join a drive, see details in the description. Lastly, car collectors have been watching the value of old trucks rise for a few years now, but this 588-mile square-body Chevy seemed to move the bar up a little more when it sold for $88 grand earlier this week. It's a simple single-cab, bench-seat, manual transmission work truck. 88 grand is expensive, but not in a world where people pay 6 figures for BMW E30 M3s from the 1980s. Which brings up an interesting point. When a seemingly normal car or truck sells for big money, someone always says, "I should have bought one of those and put it in a bubble. I would be rich." Flipping cars can turn a profit, but is hiding a car for 40 or 50 years really the best way to make money? As BAT user NameTaken2 pointed out, not always. They did some math. In 1985, this K20 would have cost about $20,000. If you took that same money and put it in the S&P 500, it wouldn't be worth $88,000. It would be worth $820,000. Stocks don't take up as much space either, or rust. Personally, I say just drive your cars and trucks. That's an investment in fun. Coming up, we talk to Mike Princinello. Most people know him as the co-founder of Classic Car Club Manhattan, but he's also a motorcycle racing nerd. He's going to talk to us about owning a fleet of classics and MotoGP. But first...
America, what works like a Chevy truck?
Nothing.
What prowls and growls like a Chevy truck?
Nothing.
That's right.
Nothing works like a Chevy truck. Nothing works like a Chevy truck.
Hi, Mike. Thank you so much for joining us. You co-founded this amazing place called Classic Car Club Manhattan. It's a car enthusiast's dream, but can you tell us more?
Yeah, Classic Car Club is the first automotive club of its kind in the world. It was started in London by one of my partners, Phil Kavanagh. And essentially, we have a fleet of cars, about 40 cars, everything from modern supercars to really interesting classics. And members can join and drive all the cars, but it is a lot more than that. It's a real community. So we have more than 2,000 members. We have an automotive racing team. We have a motorcycle racing team. We have 2 bars here, actually 2 bars and 2 restaurants. And we produce, on an average year, we produce about 300 events. So that's everything from track days and race days to rallies across Europe and everything else.
That's
so it's
awesome.
a really fun place. If you're into cars, you're into car culture, probably should make a stop here.
Hagerty's all about, of course, keeping people on the road interested in cars. It seems like you guys have really done that, especially in a city where owning a car isn't really practical. Was that the idea?
Well, the idea extends beyond just the impracticality of New York, but certainly that's part of it. I'd actually say that most of our members have at least one car, but it's the variety of all the cars that we have that I think makes it really special. So, one day you could drive a brand new Ferrari and have a modern Italian supercar experience, and then the next day follow it up with a 1974 Alfa Romeo.
Very cool.
And get a vintage Italian experience. To do that in any sort of thing, from driving every generation of 911 Porsche, for example. So, but mostly though, I think doing things with a car on your own is could be a bit one-dimensional. So I think what makes the club special is all the events that we do together. So it's fun to be part of the community itself.
What's been in your fleet the longest at this point?
What's been in the fleet the longest? That's a good question. Zach, one of my partners that I run the club here with, we were just doing some napkin math the other day, and we figured we've been in New York since 2005, and we've owned more than 400 cars.
Whoa!
I will say we had a really cool AC Shelby Cobra that was in the original fleet. Our original fleet had 17 cars, and we got rid of that one about last year. So that was really the long hauler. Other than that, most cars last 1 to 3 years. We're always moving them around. We have a beautiful 1963 convertible Corvette that we've put a lot of work and time into, and it's really lovely to drive. And so that one's probably been in the fleet the longest, and I don't see us getting rid of it anytime soon because it's fun to drive.
Sure. So you've got a lot of high-end cars from all different decades and manufacturers. Seems like it could potentially be a maintenance nightmare. Have you had any issues like that?
No, actually, because we stay on top of it. We have 2 lifts here. We have a full-time mechanic and then support for him. Patrick, he does a great job, but every time a car goes out, it comes back, it goes on the lift, we go through it and go through a whole checkpoint. So we're very familiar with what's going on with every car. We order parts kind of before they're needed and all that. So the maintenance is good. That said, though, owning a bunch of classic cars is a handful. It is a lot of work. So those lifts are working 24 hours a day, or at least all day long. But the fleet's really reliable, actually. That's one of the things. We've been doing this for 15 years. So, you could sort of pick cars that you might want for the fleet. But you also, we've come to learn which ones work and which ones don't. And
Sure.
I'd say right now our cars out of commission, there's 1 right now. If you asked me 11 years ago, there might have been 5. So, we've gotten better at it over the years.
Before I let you go, I want to talk about two wheels a little bit. I know you're a huge MotoGP fan. I don't really know much about it, though. So what drew you into that?
Being at the car club, actually, when we started in 2005, I wasn't really a motorcycle rider. And my other partner, Phil Kavanagh, who started the club in London in 1995, which is still there and operating, he's just a big motorcyclist. And I've always had the intuition to do it or the interest to do it. And he pointed me in the right direction. So I've been riding since maybe 2005. And a lot of that has been on the track. And we have our motorcycle race team now that I guess you would say I'm the captain of. And so I just really like the challenge of trying to be a really proficient operator of a motorcycle at high speed. It's the thing that I do every weekend. I absolutely love doing it, and being part of the car club allows that to be a reality for me. And I get to share it with other people too, which is great.
So that's very cool. With COVID-19 just adjusting so many things, obviously the MotoGP season has not been immune to that at all. We heard Valentino Rossi, the legend, was going to retire this year. Do you think that might change now?
Well, so, I don't know. I tell you, he's one of the inspirations for me to actually go from riding on the street to racing on a racetrack. I hope he sticks around because he's just so good for the sport. And he has an offer. So he's riding for Yamaha Works, the factory team, this year for the shortened season. And he has an opportunity to ride for Petronas, which is basically Yamaha's satellite team now. And of course, Yamaha would give him all the support he would need, but there's a lot that goes into it. He's had the same team, the same mechanic crew team for years, and whether or not they can move there or not. I hope he doesn't, but if you're asking me what my opinion is, I think that this might be a very elegant exit for him. And I think that after motorcycle racing, he'll put more effort into VR46, which is his team that he created in Moto3 and Moto2 to help generate young Italian motorcycle talent. And he's also shown an interest in endurance auto racing. So, back in the 70s and 80s and earlier years, it was easier for a racer to go from one series to the next. John Sutrese is the guy who won Formula One and MotoGP, I believe. But I think Valentino Rossi winning 9 world championships would probably actually like to move into that next era of people who want an endurance race as well. So maybe we see Valentino Rossi racing GT2 in Le Mans.
Okay.
And that would be
Wow,
interesting
okay.
too.
That'd be a big change.
I don't think we're not going to see him on a racetrack. It might just be in a car, actually.
Okay. So for those of us who are maybe trying to get into MotoGP and don't know too much about the sport, is there anything in particular we should be paying attention to this year?
Yeah, this year there's a lot of rookies that moved up from Moto 2 to the Premier class. They really haven't had an opportunity to show what they're about. Learning how to go from a Moto 2 bike, which is probably something like 150 horsepower, 140 horsepower, to north of 200 on a prototype machine is, I would imagine, a really big step. So it'll be interesting to see how some of the rookies do. Paul Espargaro, who's been in the series for a while now, rides for KTM, and there's rumors that he's moving to Repsol Honda. So it'll just be interesting to see where people shake out. It's what they call the silly season, when all the new contracts are signed, and pretty much everybody's contracted to 2000 through 2020, but the 2021 season, almost everybody's out of their contracts. So you're watching teams and manufacturers and factories try to think, who's the right person to ride this bike without really seeing anybody ride since last year.
Interesting. So yeah, it sounds like the next couple of years then are going to be kind of interesting to watch in this sport. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Mike. Really appreciate the insight. That's all for us today on Daily Driver. Everyone keep driving and stay safe out there.